Sir, you're not audible.
Oh my God. Okay. So I was saying that so far in neural network, what we have discussed is error propagation. We have discussed like what is the basic structure of a neural network, and now in this we say that how to calculate the gradient of a neural network. So that the calculation of a gradient of a neural network is we can find it out by algorithm known as backpropagation algorithm. It actually use the concept of dynamic programming, right? So efficiently utilize how to calculate the gradient. So in today's lecture, I will go through the I will concretely go over how to calculate the gradient of a neural network. Before then that, I want you to just familiarize or recall the notations what we have used for. So this is input layer I, and let's say that the other layer in the forward sequence is we have a node j. So if an if a edge is going from I to j, then we can say that the weight, we can represent that weight is equals to weight by a notation w subscript ji, right? And the input of any node is represented as aj. If you apply a nonlinearity over aj, you will get zj, right? Zj, and Zj act as a input for the next layer, right? Input for the next layer. Let's say this is node K in the next layer. Then the weight will be here WKJ, WKJ, because K is the output and J is the input. The input here go is again AK, and which is a dot product of W's and ZJ's, right? This is what we have done used so far as in the notations. So let's go one by one, like how to calculate the back propagation, how to calculate the gradient, right? So gradient, again, I say that it is first you have error function, which is nothing but a sum of square error, or it is like a square error function. You take that error function, and if you have 20 weights in a neural network, then you just calculate the derivative of error function with respect to every weight, w11, w12, w21, w22, likewise. So you will calculate the weight gradient partial derivative with respect to every weight in the neural network, right? This is what we say. So here n is nothing but the nth sample. Right now you can ignore it. So if you apply a chain rule, so it says you take the gradient with respect to aj and then multiply the gradient of aj with respect to wji. So let's see this first notation here, right? So we are talking about gradient of error function with respect to aj, right? So this is my aj, right? If this here error is available, right? If here error is available, I will calculate the derivative of error with respect to aj. We'll see how to find it recursively. Let's say somehow I know this derivative, then I calculate the derivative of aj with respect to wji, right? So how you can write aj? Aj is nothing but it is wji into xi, right? And summation over I. So the particular term of j, wji, will give me the respective xi, right? Or the input. If it is xi, then it is, or it could be zi. So in general, I say it is a zi, right? Can anybody tell me why I'm saying in general I say it is zi, not xi? Anybody in the class? Why I'm saying that it is zi, not xi? It is zi rather than xi. quickly.
So we can easily represent it because after the first layer we are using Z anyway.
So the thing that I am using Zi is nothing but the input of a layer, right? In general, if it is an input layer, then Zi is Xi, right? Otherwise, for an example, this is a neural network. It may have so many layers. Let's say it have 2 layers. So if it is an input layer, then my Zi is nothing but Xi. But if it is this hidden layer, then I say that the input for the this layer, third layer, so I number them: input 1 layer, this is layer 1, this is layer 2. So the input for layer 2 is the Zi produced by layer 1, right? The input for layer 1 is the input given by input layer, which is nothing but Xi. So in general, if I am saying what is the input to a layer, if it is not input layer, then always I say that it is Z, right? But if it is input layer, then I say it is X. Do you clear? Do you understand this? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Fine. So now I say that when I just take a derivative with respect to Wji, so it will be a multiplication of Zi, right? So it's a partial derivative, then Zi comes out, right? I hope this you understood all of you understood this. Can you write yes or no for this? Do you understand this? How to calculate it? Because there is nothing but sum. Very nice, very nice. You need to give a very specific attention to this calculation. Very good, very nice. I'm happy that you understand this. So now I told you that we will somehow say that we know this derivative, and we are representing this derivative by delta j, right? So as by chain rule, you multiply this delta j with zj, and you finally calculate the derivative of error with respect to wji. So here I will tell you how to calculate this delta ji, right? So delta j is nothing but it's a back propagation of error. So if you are at this, so back propagation travels from, like in forward propagation, you go like this from left to right. In back propagation, you go from right to left. That's why it is known as back propagation. So here, whatever error you have, it will propagate some fractions, or it affects in terms of derivative. So it say that this delta is traversing back, right? And delta is traversing back through each of the node. So that's why I'm saying that a specific node is represented by delta j, right? So now we will see like how to calculate this delta j. Okay. One more step to before I dive into the calculation. For an example, if I am at a hidden layer, some hidden layer, it may have so many units, right? So for one unit, I am seeing here as one unit. So this one unit may be connected to the may be connected to more than one unit to the next layer. When back propagation comes from the error, right? So it took this path. So this is a delta k for this k layer, for this k node, and this is delta 1 for this node 1, right? So it has specific contribution of in terms of a delta error back propagation. So this error will back propagate through this path, right? So delta k propagates through this path and delta 1 propagates through this path. So when you calculate delta j, so it is nothing but it's a sum of the contribution. We will see like how to calculate. So this is how you calculate it. So if you just see how to calculate the derivative of error with respect to aj, right? So this is my aj, right? It's the input of this layer. So I want to calculate how to calculate the derivative. This is aj, which is going inside this. This is aj. How to calculate the derivative of aj with respect to the error. So aj may have contributed through more than one path to the error, because if I'm calculating error at this layer, so aj might have traveled in back forward propagation through this path also, and aj might have propagated through this path also, and finally they, because in softmax function they might have calculated an error. So it is like AJ might have traversed in forward path through a lot of multiple paths. So in back propagation, I need to sum the contribution from all those paths in backward direction. This is what it is summation shows. So it shows that how if there are k layers in the next, if there are k nodes in the next layer, so I need to sum the k over k paths, because if there are k nodes in the next layer, so then there will be k path available to traverse ak through towards the output layer. So now I will say that this is my delta k, right? This is my delta k for each node, and then the same thing. Then I take a derivative of ak with respect to aj, right? Ak with aj. If now I see that how ak becomes aj, so this is aj. I take a non-linearity over it by some function, then it becomes zj. Then I multiply it with wkj, right? Kj, and then I sum over all j's. Then I sum over all j's. So it is nothing but the input. It is nothing but ak, right? Ak. So now if I take a derivative of ak with respect to aj, so what will happen? First I need to pick the term which is having aj. So this is h aj, because through the non-linearity, aj w kj. This is the only term which remain, otherwise the rest of the term will be get to zero because of the constant. Now if I take the derivative with respect to aj, then this is a constant. Sorry, if I take the derivative with respect to aj, right? So yeah, this is a constant, and this is nothing but a function of aj. So first I take a derivative of this function with respect to aj, which is nothing, this, right? So I am just writing the derivative of function h with aj is h dash aj, right? It is like the way in mathematics you write that derivative with this dash. So it is nothing, the function, the derivative of function with respect to a. So here I'm saying that now the derivative of ak with respect to aj is this, right? So this is this. If I want to cleanly write it, then this is how I'll write. So this is en by ak, which is nothing but delta k, right? Then I take a sigma over all these terms. So this is delta k here, and I take the sigma, right? I sigma over all k's, right? Because all the paths are coming backward. These red paths which I have shown here, these red arrows. So these are coming from the k different nodes at the output layer. So this h dash aj is constant with respect to the kth term, right? So you just bring it out of this summation, and the rest of the two terms wkj and delta k will be the inside of this summation. Any question on this slide? Are you done with this? Are you good with this understanding? Can you write yes or no? Okay, fine, good. So if you don't have any questions, so this is simply intuitively how you see this. It is nothing but you are summing the contribution from all k nodes, node 1, node 2 till node k at the layer, which is the layer. my error back propagation is in the direction from right to left. So from all k nodes, what I'm doing, just see very clearly here, what I'm doing, I take this back propagation error, right? I multiply it with this weight, right? And then I multiply it with the derivative of the function h dash, right? I do it for every path. I multiply this delta 1, I multiply with the weight, and then I multiply it with the h dash, and I am summing them up. Similarly, this is delta k, multiplying that particular weight of that h, and then multiplying it with h dash, right? So I do it for every path. This is weight, and then I multiply it with h dash, and I'm summing them up, right? Because h dash is common, so that's why I bring this out of the summation. And this is nothing but I'm summing all the error contribution multiplied by the weight of the edge, and then summing them up, right? So in short, what we are doing here is we are multiplying contribution of error going backward with the weights for every path, and then sum them up, and finally multiplying them with the h dash a, because it was common, that's why. So fine, I hope this is good to you, and I have just tried to give you a detailed thing. So rest of the things you need to see carefully and try to make your own understanding. Okay, I will take one more example just to give you a bigger picture. So here my, okay, so the bigger picture is this. I take this kind of a network. I have input layer with 2 nodes, hidden layer with 2 nodes, and the output layer with 1 node, right? And for every layer, we are using 10h nonlinearity, right? Wherever we are using nonlinearity, it is 10h. Fine. So at the output layer, I am not using any nonlinearity because it's a regression problem. So yk is equals to ak. What you feed inside here, it will directly go outside. So it is yk is equals to ak. It's a regression problem. So the error function is nothing but how far your prediction is from the true label, and you square them up and sum them up, right? This is your error function. The nonlinearity in the rest of the nodes, h dash a, which you will use here somewhere in the hidden layer, h dash a in this layer is 10h, right? So if you take if you write 10h like this, and if you take a derivative of 10h with respect to a, it is nothing but h dash a. You can write it 1 minus h square a. You will see, you will work on this. So these things can be derived easily. So if you take a derivative of a tan h a with respect to a, it is nothing 1 minus h square a itself. Fine. Now I want to back propagate, so I need to traverse from right to left, right? So first I come here to this node at the output layer, right? So what is my delta? Can anybody tell me what is my delta k here? So it is nothing. Delta k was what? It was a error derivative of an error with respect to ak, right? With respect to ak. This is my delta k. What is my error function? Error function is this, right? So error function is this. And here yk is equals to ak because it's a regression problem. So here yk is nothing but it's a ak. So I need to take a derivative of this error function with respect to ak. So this 2 will get cancelled with this 2. And I will left with ak minus tk, right? This is ak minus tk. Not to forget, ak is yk here because it's the last layer. So this is what we have calculated. So this is delta k. Fine. So we have calculated delta K. Now I want to get back to this path. I told you, you multiply delta K with this weight. What is this weight? So it is W11, and it is a second layer, right? So it's a superscript 2. You multiply delta K, and what is this weight? It is W21, right? Sorry, W12. W12, and superscript is 2 itself, right? So you are summing this delta K, you are multiplying this delta K with the WK, right? You are summing them from all the paths, and then you are multiplying your derivative. Derivative for this node, it is Z1, right? It is Z1, and for this node, it is Z2, right? So respective node, you use your that derivative of Z1 and Z2, you calculate this delta 1 and delta 2 for this layer. So if you put Z1, it is delta 1 here, you get calculated. And if you put Z2, it is delta 2, right? Again, the same funda, you multiply this delta with the weights and sum them up, right? So again, the same funda applies. And when you sum them up, what you will get? You will get this derivative with respect to input xi, right? So you don't want to do that, right? So that's why you calculate delta j till here, right? And finally, to take the derivative of weights, you just multiply this delta delta k with zj here, right? To take the derivative with respect to W12, right? Similarly, to take the derivative with respect to this weight, which is W22, you just multiply delta j with your input xi. So you just sit with a pen and paper and you can do this, right? I can understand abstractly, it makes bit little intuitive, but equations are complete in itself, and you just do go over with pen and paper. Just to make you more concrete, I tried to brought one example for you, which can actually do computations, and so hence you will visualize better. So let's go over the example here. So I have taken it from blog. I think I have written into reference. So here my input is I1, I2 rather than X1, X2. So it's just a change of notation, I1, I2 rather than X1, X2. My weights are W1, W2, W3, W4. I just took this directly from the blog, so things are more intuitive. In this example, we are not going too much into the notation things and just try to see the like crux of computation. So these are different weights. The bias is common at the first. B1 is 0.35, B and both of them it is B2 actually 0.325. Oops, okay, fine. As notation it is B1, and the same both for same. And this is W5, W6, W7, W8. It is output layer O1 and O2. The target that once you feed it, your like the expected target is this 0.01 and 0.99, right? Here, rather than AK, it is written net layer. What is going inside the layer? Net input, right? And rather than ZJ, it is written out layer, right? It's out layer. So let's go to the forward pass, which you are good at it. You just do everything in this matrix, right? So W1, W2, and your bias, right? All three goes into this particular first layer. Similarly, W3, W4, and this bias, it all goes into the second layer, right? and this input is here. I1, I2, just to accommodate a bias, you take I0 equals to 1, right? What it will give you? It will give you the net input, which is AK here, right? So this is net input. Please stop me if you don't understand anything. I'm just discussing this example to make you understand, not to complete the lecture, right? So if you don't understand, please stop me. So this is your net input now. AK, what you need to do, you need to apply the nonlinearity here. So we have used sigmoid here, right? For the say nonlinearity. You take your net H1 and feed it to the sigmoid function. Net H2, feed it to the sigmoid function. You get two numbers here, nonlinearity. It is Z1, Z2, right? So it is Z1, Z2. I hope everything is making sense to you guys. So when it is Z1, Z2 now, so you will get this one, 0.599 here. And, oh, sorry, this, just a minute. It is a two-layer network. So this is Z1, right? And this is output of this node. This is here, right? Then finally we get this is a new input for the next layer, Z1, Z2, right? You redo the same things. You multiply, you construct the matrix from this weight, all these weights. You multiply these things, right? You get the net input. You apply the nonlinearity. You apply the nonlinearity, you get this output, right? So this is Z1 here. This is Z2, right? So you get 0.75, 0.79. Finally. So just remember that this is your, you get 0.75 here, right? 0.75. And here you get 0.77, 0.77, right? The expected target was 0.101 and 0.99. So it means you are how much far you are. It is you are subtracting your 0.75, 0.1 and then squaring it up. Similarly, for 0.99 you are from far by this number. You squaring it up, right? And then sum them up. It is your final error, right? It is your total error at the regression. I hope this is clear. Now let's go to the backward propagation. You have calculated an error. The same thing applies there. So for that error function, so I am at this layer. So just to recall where what is what weight. So you remember this. You just remember the sequence. I just did this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, right? So we are just taking a derivative with respect to W5 first. Okay, so this was my output layer. This is W5, W6, W7, and W8, right? So we are taking a derivative with respect to W5 here. So how to take a derivative? First, you take the error function. You take the derivative with respect to, though it is differently computed what I have given you through in the Bishop, but it is just to make you understand. If you club these two things, right? The Bishop says it is delta J, delta K, right? It is nothing but the derivative of error function with respect to AK, right? And anybody who understood this point right now, which I just said, here net input is AK, right? So if you club these two terms, I just said that it is delta K. You understood this term, yes or no? because I said that in Bishop the derivative of error is with respect to AK. So if you further decompose your derivative with respect to AK, it is nothing. Very nice, very nice. So to take a derivative of error with output and then output with the input. So it is nothing but it's a derivative of error with respect to input, which is AK. Then you are multiplying finally the same what I have just explained, and you do all these exercises, you will get the W5, right? So you then get the derivatives. So you get the derivative of W5 is this, right? Then the derivative of the derivative of W5 is this, right? If that this is a derivative, the actual weight was what? The actual weight was for derivative W is 0.50, 0.40, right? The actual weight is 0.40. I have calculated a derivative. So I have calculated a derivative, and I am multiplying this derivative with some step size, that is eta in stochastic gradient descent, right? And then I'm subtracting this step, right, from the actual weight, which is 0.4, and this is my new input, the new weight W5. I do this updation as plus, right? This is W6 plus updation after calculating derivative W7, W8. Once you calculate it, you freeze it, right? Then go to the hidden layer. The hidden layer says that you need to just sum them from the both the edges, right? And you are good at it. So when you do all these things, you calculate it, you just go over the slide, you will find it out that you can able to compute it. These are very self-explanatory slides, right? So you need to spend the time on it. I will share this to you, and let me know if you have any questions so far on this. Any questions so far on this? So it is like I just told you just to go over those things. I will explain. I will share these slides to you, because even the blog I will share like from where I have taken it. And please do this thing with using pen and paper. It will make sense to you. Fine. So I hope that before closing to and going to the next thing, are you done with this? Can you write yes or no quickly just to get the response? Do you understand neural networks? Very good. Very nice. It is a very important topic. I believe that those who are good at basics and in computing these gradients, they will be good. They will be doing good in their future for this artificial machine tool, right? Okay.
Sir, again the problem of overfitting will come back here. Like again we are minimizing.
Right, right. So overfitting will always be there. So I for this neural network, what we do, we just apply the same old trick like weight decay. We can minimize this cost error function, and we add this W transpose W like we did in linear regression, and then we can minimize it. There is a dropout technique also, but generally what I do, I did cover all these techniques in my next offered subject, which is known as deep learning. So there are plenty of technique for regularization. Like we do data augmentation, we do dropouts, we do weight decay, right? Like W transpose W, what we did in linear regression, adding it with the cost function to avoid that thing. So general technique is dropout. Any other question? Okay, if there are no questions, so I just want to start a new topic today. And the topic is kernel methods, right? So let's go over it quickly. What are kernel methods? So we are discussing right now chapter 6 of Christopher Bishop. Screen is visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Fine. So this is also a very, very important topic in machine learning, kernel methods. Most of the people do their whole career research on this, and they made up their career in this, like Alexa Mola and all people from Carnegie Mellon University. They have written a whole book on this kernel methods. So we just look briefly touch it and try to find out intuitively what are actually these kernel methods, so that intuitively will have an insight, and whenever you find it in your future, you will just try. These will make sense to you then. Okay, so the two possible approaches for learning. Approach one: learn the parameters from the data and then predict the output on unseen input, right? So it means simply what I'm saying here is you just summarizing your information in terms of a parameter, right? So this is how I see. For an example, somebody gives you a data this way, and you say that what do you think, which model it fits? So you just found out that I can fit a line to this data, and this is this line. When you understand, when you found out that this is this line, it means you know intercept and slope. So you know W0 and W1, right? These two parameters you know. Now, what you can do, you just now throw this data, right? You throw this data set because it is no more needed. All these samples which was available in training set is now more available. You use only these two values, which is the summarized information of your data set. It is a summary. It is like, it is all that you have just summarized in the terms of these two numbers. If you plot these line using these two numbers, it is this. If somebody gives you unseen data, you just predict this number using this model, right? So in approach one, you are summarizing everything in terms of parameter, and then using parameter, you are predicting it, right? Then data set is not needed after learning. Once you learn the parameters, data set, you can ignore it totally. The approach two. So far what I was like discussing in detail is approach one, right? This is approach one. So in approach two, sometimes linear parameters can be recast into a dual representation where the predictions are based on linear combination of a kernel function evaluated at the training data point. So in short, what in approach two I am trying to say here is that rather than throwing your data set, you keep your data set with you, and then you do your predictions with the help of your data set itself there, right? So here you are not summarizing your information in terms of parameter, but you are using your data to predict there. And for this technique, what we say, it is a dual representation. In dual representation, you are actually using your data directly for prediction. And we see that like the data when it is used, there we will have a opportunity to exploit some things, right? Well, I will tell you what are those some things, but there is the opportunity to exploit those things. And to exploit those things, we say that we are exploiting using kernel functions, right? So keep this thing in your head that in approach two, we are using data sets directly. And there it is an opportunity, we have an opportunity to exploit things there. And to exploit the things, we use kernel functions. Okay. So this is a bit abstract. Let's go into the detail and try to understand what is like opportunity and exploitation. So generally, if what we need to take a dot product, right? Either it is an original space or you project into high dimensional space using your basis function and then take a dot product, right? So eventually you need to take a dot product, whether in this space or in the other feature space or in the other high dimensional projected space or low dimensional projected space. But wherever you are fitting your model, whether it is this space or that space, you are actually doing a dot product in that respective space, right? So if you are in the original space, then you do X transpose X. And if you're projecting your X into high dimensional space using basis function, it is nothing but it is phi X transpose. So it is a high dimensional vector, and you are taking a dot product. So here just it is like you are taking phi X transpose phi X in high dimensional space, right? So the norm or dot product there, it will be this. Even sometimes you take the dot product with respect to the other samples also, X transpose Y. In an original space or in projected space, it is X transpose phi X transpose projected with phi Y projected one, right? So this is you are doing into some projected space. So what kernel function? So we just represent it by using kernel functions. We say that this is a kernel function, right? And they are symmetric. Whether you do X transpose Y or Y transpose X, it doesn't. The value will not change, right? So these are the kernel functions. Generally, okay. Let's first. I will give you the gist of it. So keep this thing in your head and dive into first the dual representation of the linear regression. First, I want to know, do you remember this? How many of you remember this thing? Quickly write yes sir. Very good. Very good. So this is an old good friend to you. And it is nothing but it's a cost function, regularized cost function of a linear regression, right? So let's talk on this and try to convert into a dual representation. What we do, we take a derivative of this J with respect to W, right? With respect to W and put it equals to 0. We can write it this way, right? We can write it this way. Then this right hand side of this equation, it is rewritten this way. So I just help you to formulate it. So this is phi n is phi n itself, right? And this term is represented as this way. It is an, right? So this is an. Nothing gets changed here. You just replace the first term in a product with an, right? Now it is simply you are saying that you are multiplying each of the sample in the data set with an, right? Because it is phi xn projected one, and you're multiplying it with an. So this is your design matrix where each row is a sample. Sample 1, sample 2, sample 3, sample 4, right? You take a transpose of this phi matrix. So it is column sample 1, sample 2, sample 3, sample 4, right? So it is a phi transpose. It is a phi transpose. Can you quickly tell me who taught you linear algebra? Anybody can write it. Who taught you linear algebra? Rashmi madam. Okay. Okay. So for this linear, then you have this vector here. So do you know this, that you have column 1, column 2, column 3 in a matrix, and you are multiplying it with the vector of 3 by 1 vector, right? 3 by 1 vector. So it has 3 component 1, component 2, component 3. So you can write this as component 1 multiplied by first vector plus component 2 multiply by second column of the matrix plus component 3 multiply by third column of the matrix. You can write it this way. Do you know this? Yes or no? Very good. So now, if this is the case, then this is here. You write it here, this A vector, A1, A2 till AN. And it is nothing but it's a linear combination of samples in a data set. And the weight will be given by AN. This is a AN vector. Right? And this matrix is phi transpose. Right? So here you can write phi transpose A, and it is nothing but it is sum of all those samples weighted by AN. Is this making sense to you guys? Phi transpose A, can we write this way? Yes or no? Very nice. Oh, I just see that we are we have just over and over the time. This for 9:50. So I will continue from here onwards. Please let me know if you have any questions. So I want to stop here. Let's start continue this same topic tomorrow. Thank you very much. Drop your questions in Google Classes if you have any.